Welcome to Anxious Wow, a podcast that explores the intersection of mental health and wellness, being a minority in America, living with pride, and the ghetto-ness of adulthood. Hi, I'm Emperor.
And I'm Tevin, and welcome to our new episode. Whether it's your first time tuning in or you're an active member of the Anxious Wow family, thanks for joining us.
That's right.
And today we have a very special guest. Say hello to Pernell.
Hey, Pernell.
What's up?
How are you doing?
Oh my gosh, this is very wow. this is like a thing. Like I'm like, okay, but I'm ready. I feel good.
That's right. We're excited that you're here today.
Thank you for having me. This is quite an honor. I've actually listened to the podcast for a minute now, and I have picked up a few tidbits from a few of your episodes. So it's very mind blowing, very eye opening. So
we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So normally what we do, we drop an icebreaker to get the guests more comfortable. So tell me, what's the icebreaker for today?
Well, this icebreaker was submitted by an anonymous listener. So
I love that.
The question is, if you had the ability to live forever, would you?
Ooh. That's a good question. And the guest always goes first. Just to let you know.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Why not? What's that? He said that with conviction.
You know what it is? It's about, I guess, because of everything that I've gone through with and I'll just be 100% transparent right off the bat. Going into therapy and going through certain things where it involves like change and evolution, I think there is a certain point to a lifetime, an average lifetime, I guess you could say, where you're just like, you're constantly evolving, you're constantly going, you're constantly changing. And it depends on a certain type of mindset where if you are okay and you have the ability to adapt, then I champion that person who do want to live forever. Word to death becomes her. You know what I'm saying? Where, but for those where it's like, okay, I think I'm over it. I think I'm done. Like, I mean, no one wants to be Kitana. 10,000 years old. You've seen everything. What? I mean, unless I'm still going to look like this, right? But I mean.
That part.
Nah, I'm good.
What about you, Tevin?
I think it goes to am I going to age? Like if I've been watching Interview with a Vampire, so if I'm going to stop aging once I get bit, I'm there for it. And then I can build wealth among that time that I'm alive, and I'll be 200 years old and a billionaire.
I mean, that is true. You do have more time to get things right.
This is true.
These people who are 1,000 years old, they're never broke.
You know what? Mm-hmm. That is true. When you watch these shows, you don't never see a broke vampire. Yeah. And if they are broke, you question, why are you a vampire?
Right.
And most likely they just been in the slums eating rats and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. But they normally have a lot of wealth.
Yeah.
They sure do. Because they have the time to actually build and grow and start over. And wow. I didn't think about that.
But me personally, I don't know. I don't know about forever, but I would extend life beyond the time that we have. And, I would hope that the aging process goes with it. So if I'm 100, I'm still looking like, I am right now. But again, it kind of goes down to you have time to actually think and build things. The only sad part is if it's just me, it's going to be very, very lonely because, when you have the one that you love and you care about and you have family, friends, or anyone who's close to your life, you're going to see them age. And you're not going to age like them. And there are certain things that you're going to be able to do that they're not going to be able to do. And you're going to see all your friends and family die continuously. And I don't know what that type of burden is, but, you lose someone in your life and you that breaks you. To lose everyone over and over again just for immortality, I don't know if it's really worth it. But if I can get to 350, I think that's pretty cool. But forever... Well, heaven, yes, please take me. But outside of that, I mean, I don't know, man. That's a lot. If I could take all my friends, people with me, that'd be a little different.
If I say, what if you're a vampire and you can make everyone that you love and
Listen,
care about?
I'm gonna bite people up. Chop, 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 chop. We gonna live for a little bit. What y'all want to do? Listen, you don't have to worry about sunscreen because we won't be in the sun that much. Don't worry about aging that much. It's boring in daytime, anything, right? Parties are at nighttime. The city's lit at night. I got to bite a few people, but we'll bite the people who deserve to get bitten.
Okay. Word to Akasha. Mm-hmm.
So what's making
Hashtag
everyone
Queen of the
anxious
Dam.
for the week?
What's making you anxious?
There are a few things that are making me anxious, but
Okay.
then as long as I have a grasp on them and I have a full-blown focus on how to like take care of each of the goals, then I won't be so anxious.
Okay.
But the anxiety is there nonetheless. With big goals come big responsibilities,
Mhm.
big plans, big details, and it's a lot to think about, especially when you're in two different industries, with two very different set of rules, set of politics, set of goals, set of
Everything.
plans, timelines, the rate of the time, like one industry that I'm in, it's got to be like go, 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 go. The other one is like, oh, take your time, build, so it's that part makes me anxious, having to slow down my mind when I go into each one or speed up my mind in different parts.
Yeah, I got anxiety thinking about it.
Yeah. Yes.
What about you, Tab? What's making you anxious this week?
I've been thinking a lot about the future and what that holds and what I want to accomplish within like the next 3 to 5 years.
Anything that brought that on, it just popped in your head randomly.
Probably something I think about monthly.
Okay.
I always get anxious about it. 'Cause I'm like, how am I going to accomplish it in 3 years? But
Okay.
God opens doors and things move, and in a year from now, I can be in a totally different place. So
That is true.
what am I overthinking about it for?
One thing I love you said God opens doors. One thing we don't say enough is that he also closes them. And
Yeah.
people don't understand that he will close a toxic door for you. But sometimes we try to pry it open and throw a grenade at it. I'm like, no, he shut the door with bolts and everything and says poison on it for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really excited to see what you do in the next 3 to 5 years.
What's making you anxious?
Well, I don't want to give too much away, but I had a very important meeting today that can, change the trajectory of my life financially, and it will help a lot of my dreams come into fruition a lot faster. So I'm hoping that everything goes well. Obviously, I'm like anxious / nervous / excited, but I will find out all the good details on Monday. So, I'm really anxious about it right now.
Okay, anxious while excited.
Anxious while excited,
Yeah.
anxious while praying. So I'm praying for
Well, here's to sending good vibes to what you'll get on Monday.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All good vibes.
Absolutely.
All good vibes. That's right.
So you ready to get into the topic for the day?
Yes, I am.
All right,
Let's go.
Read us a definition.
So, as y'all know, we've been talking about Miriam for a while. Her and Webster has been hooking us up, and she's been continuing to do us justice. So she gave us a good definition of the word people pleaser. Well, phrase people pleaser, sorry. People pleaser, a person who has an emotional need to please others, often at the expense of his or her own needs or desires. And shout out to Miriam Webster.
And if you couldn't guess, we're talking about people pleasing today.
Because sometimes like, we talk about plants? No.
People pleasing. It was right there in the definition.
Oh, man.
So does everyone fall victim to people pleasing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, yes. Especially if you don't have your own way, if you haven't come into your own self yet, if you're still in that mode where you're still trying to figure yourself out and you're in that place where you're still kind of growing, but you're not quite there yet. You're still in education mode, but you're still trying to find your way, right? And so with that comes, the game, everyone's favorite game of politics, right? Gotta kiss butt. And, you have to, make certain people like you, right? But then if you don't have limits to that, and there's a certain kind of endorphin that's being released in that when you're just constantly seeing everybody happy, it becomes a thing. And if you don't have that limitation to yourself or that ownership of yourself, it can fester and become like this thing where it's like all you're doing is people pleasing to keep the peace or not make anybody mad, or I don't want to offend anybody. It's a golden cage, the best way to put it.
Wow.
It's like you're winning, but you're also still locked at the same time, limited in that aspect.
I like Golden Cage. Let's save that for a song title.
Oh, yes.
You want me to answer now?
Yeah, you can answer.
I mean, yeah, I've experienced people pleasing on both ends where, having a particular, role at work, you have people who work under you or for you. And, just the compliments or certain things that they go out the way to kind of like please you so they could be in the forefront. Yeah, because I get it. Like, I understand why. Because something, my title or quote unquote the power I have is going to open up doors for them if they're on my good side. And people kind of do that. With me, like, I started off, I told you before, retail, pretty much dug myself up. And, a lot of times I've seen people who, was, kissing behind or always saying yes and doing things knowing that they were tired or staying extra knowing that they had other obligations, but they just felt that if they did this, there'll be some type of gain in the future. I saw myself doing it too, to an extent, because it was kind of working a little bit until reality kind of sat in and it was like, no, it's not. So again, I was like, oh, let me just do this. Let me stay extra. We worked 9 to 12 hours at work. Let me give the extra compliments and me be extra sweet. And mind you, I'm already a nice person, but, taking that extra step. And then it's like, well, you kind of on the brink of brown nosing kind of right now. And then for the end result not to be what I wanted, kind of was annoying. So, yeah, I think we people please to kind of fit in, or like you said, you're growing, you're learning yourself, and you want to kind of be a part of that. But at the same time, you're losing yourself in the process because that's not who you are naturally, which most people aren't. They're just doing something to be seen. And it's like, pick me, pick me, pick me. But at the same time, it's like, they should pick you based off your credentials, not because you're making someone feel better or you're stroking their ego. I'm not lying, am I? There's people who thrive on the attention. Like I've seen, I'm not gonna call out any names, but you know who you are, where your job is for people to kiss your butt. Like, I don't know what you do. I don't know how you manage, but like you love the title that you have based on how you got it. You probably kiss butt to get it too, or people please sorry. And you stand there and you expect people to come and shower you with verbal gifts all the time. Like, oh, you're so great, such a great leader. I'm like, they don't believe it. They didn't know that you are the key for them to possibly get promoted against the other 15 people who are fighting for that same position. So a lot of people do that so they can move up in the world because, let's be honest, a lot of our parents and parents before us told us that was the way for us to move ahead in the world, us being who we are.
Absolutely.
And I feel like a lot of people who people please are people who look like us.
Going the extra mile. Staying late. Taking on managerial tasks when you're not a manager.
And then you find out your pay not even the same as the person who is actually beneath you. It's actually less. So that's also a problem.
And a reality. I've been through that.
Thank God for pay transparency where you can see your budget.
Just for the most part, yes. Yeah. Thank goodness for pay transparency.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced people pleasing? Have you seen it? Have you done it yourself?
I think I do it more to keep the peace. Because, like I like to say, drama makes me tired. So sometimes I'll people please to not have to deal with all of that. I also like whenever you start like a new job, you're going to naturally like people please to get on people's good sides. And so things that may normally get on your nerves or normally you're like, absolutely not. You're going to go out of your way to like be like, oh, of course I can do that. Oh, let me know if you need any help, knowing that you have 50 million other things to do. So it's kind of just like, sometimes you have to people please to get necessarily that buy-in, but it shouldn't be like what you do every single day. Like once you've been there for 3 months, that people pleasing's out the window.
But sometimes people get so stuck on doing it, they don't even know that they're still continuing to do it. Like, oh, I'm gonna do it for 3 months, right? But let you set an alarm on your phone or your watch on about 3 months activate, you're still doing it because especially if you're doing it and you see all this great stuff that's happening for you, you're like, okay, so if I continue going down this road, it will open up doors, especially when you see people who actually do it and doors open up for them. Again, they don't look like us, but I've seen people in positions that we all know that they do not deserve, but because they were, being very close to that particular VP or director and was pretty much like their lapdog, kind of never said no and did everything, they end up getting a position that you're like, wait a second, your resume doesn't fit this. I should have received that. Now you're my boss, and now you're coming to me for how to do your position, and you're making the money for it. But if I say no, now is a problem. So it's very interesting. And, you said earlier that a lot of people that they're still finding themselves, and I think that is part of it. But I see people at 50, 60, 70 years old doing it depending on who they're talking to. I've seen directors stand tall and true, and then when their boss came around, it became whatever you need, whatever you need, whatever you need. I'm like, wait, what? That's not the energy you have for us. And I feel like certain people's titles or what they hold in society comes. Like, for example, look at someone like, who's on the top right now? Like someone like the Mariah Carey, Taylor Swift, the Beyoncés in them, right? No one is telling them no for the most part. Maybe their close people like, listen, I don't care about that. This is what it is. But the most part, like, oh, yeah, you look great in that. Or, yeah, you should do this. And mind you, I'm like, they shouldn't be doing it. Then they go on the red carpet, they look crazy. Not saying they ever did, but I'm saying that's just an example. And they're trying to people please all the time versus being very truthful. But if I was there and I was working with those same people, 10 times out of 9, they would have told me what it is. And again, I feel like depending on what you hold, what type of weight you hold in society, you're going to kind of get more people pleasing.
I guess it also just depends on the person. So it's like you said, you made a point earlier about the person who's in a position of power who likes having those particular like yes men around them. Oh yes, you do nothing wrong. Oh my gosh, if you need anything, I got you for this, I got you for that.
Right.
It seems like I know in the case for myself, it's the underlying foundation to people pleasing is a level of insecurity. And it can go both ways. It can be where if I'm in a position of power and I know I want yes men around me so I can be comfortable, so I can have that constant validation that I am great. Yes, I am the best. Yes, I am the baddest. Yes, I am the top dog in the game right now. But my reality is not reflecting that, and therefore I'm not believing that. So I need someone to constantly be by my side saying yes, 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 even though I know I'm messing up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I know I'm really not the best. There's probably something inside me that says that I don't deserve to be here. And that I got here because maybe I knew, maybe I knew the boss from like a previous experience, or I got here because I happen to be, I'm trying not to swear. I happen to be messing around with someone who's in a position of power, right? So it's like those kind of insecurities come into play where like now you're here, now you're the top person, but then I can't do this by myself. So you're going to have like yes men around you, and it goes both ways. You have the yes men there that are feeding you and are giving you what you want to hear, but then there is different types, right? You have the ones that are, oh, I really need this job because I really want to be in this position because it pays a lot of money, and I don't want to piss them off or say anything the wrong way because I don't want to lose my job. So therefore everything's gonna be yes, everything's gonna be stroking the ego. Then you have the other ones that are doing it for deceptive gain, where it's you're in close proximity to something that I want, and therefore I'm gonna brown nose you. I'm gonna perk you up. I'm gonna make you feel nice and fuzzy, so that way when I see my opportunity, I'm gonna take my opportunity. Because I know that you don't deserve to be here because it shows in your work.
That's true.
I think there are like different dimensions to like people pleasing. There's like that, those words of affirmation or giving all the compliments. Then there's the other people who do it through like actions, like letting people walk all over them or just being like a doormat and like, oh yeah, going out of their way to do stuff for knowing that those people won't do the same thing for them. So I guess people pleasing can be like different for everyone. So like, how would you identify those people pleasing characteristics in yourselves?
I know for myself, as a former people pleaser myself, it starts when you're young, honestly. And if no one is teaching you to stand up for yourself, if no one is teaching you to, place boundaries on yourself or place limitations on yourself, so that way you're preventing yourself getting lost in whatever it is that you're pursuing and who it is that you need to work with, it can become a thing where, like you said earlier, where you turn one day you're 56 and you're in the same position that you've been in. You're safe, you're making good money, but you're still in a sense of like people pleasing. You don't know how to say no.
Right.
You're letting people walk all over you. You're letting people like treat you like dirt, you know, letting them say anything crazy to your face. You know, I know for me, like most people know me as being like a really kind, good-hearted, really nice person, right? I like to always lead with love whenever I meet new people or people that are currently in my life. But there's a certain disposition about myself where you can look at me and tell that, you know, like I don't have the energy that says, if you say something slick to me, I'm gonna slap the if you say something slick to me, I'm gonna slap the mess out of you. Right. I don't carry that type of frontal energy, you know, but there are some people that do, right? So like I was saying earlier about those who people please for deceptive gain, those are the ones who are going to jump at the opportunity to try to come at me on some either brushing me up and making me feel good and nice and warm and fuzzy, or they're going to try to attack my insecurities,
right?
You know? So now, because I am in a position, or I've gotten to this point now, you know, long story, where I now do have limitations on myself. I do have boundaries on myself. I do know how to say no when I really don't want to do something. Then there's a certain type of energy you have to carry where, yes, I'm still going to treat you with respect. I'm still going to be polite. I'm still going to, you know, come correct, but also understand that I'm not the one.
Right.
You know?
Or the two or the three. No, you're
Okay.
right. And, you know, it can definitely, you know, affect your mental health as well. Just sitting there, just thinking about everything, right? That you take on a lot. And again, being kind isn't the same as people pleasing. It's a fine line. You could be you could be kind and still say no. You could be kind and still respectfully say, I'm not doing this. You can give a compliment when it's warranted, or when someone is like not having the best day, give them words of affirmation would definitely, you know, help lighten them up. But those are all separate. You sitting there, you know, going out your way to take on extra things and do a lot. Again, a lot of it probably does stem from childhood where you didn't have someone who said, listen, at the end of the day, it's not worth it. Like, everyone is so fixated or getting to the top, and they either will stab someone in the back to do it, or kiss their behind while stab you in the back to do it, or kissing your behind, right? And you don't necessarily have to do that. You should let your work speak for itself. But we are living in a world where, unfortunately, work doesn't always speak for themselves. And when you see someone moving in a direction, you kind of go into panic mode and go, oh my gosh, what else can I do? Or when you hear that person always says, I do my job well, and my feedback is, well, you know, you could be a little bit more likable. And then they're like, well, you know, I do my job, my staff likes me, what's the problem? And the underlying thing is nothing but to be more likable, huh?
This ain't a pageant.
Right. It's not a pageant, but it kind of is. It's still a show. And it's like, no, they're expecting you to kind of kiss up to them. And I'll tell you before, I received feedback from some leader. Well, I don't call them a leader. People who was over me, that, you know, they were waiting to see if I was like gonna be down with them before they took the next move to move me up in a company. And I was like, oh, be down with you? Well,
I thought you were Brandy?
Yeah, they thought I want to be down, right?
Okay.
Without the accolades. So,
Car crash.
Ooh. You know what?
But,
Never
you know,
say
just
never.
hearing that, I'm like, oh, because, you know, Sue over there is, you know, doing all this extra stuff and, you know, doing these things. And, you know, I used to even like change my voice just to kind of be a little more pleasing and to come off as less intimidating so they will feel good. I'm like, wait, I'm doing this stuff for you? What are you doing for me? Because my pay hasn't changed in the whole entire year. My title is still the same. My voice hurts. And I'm stressed out, I'm burnt out, and I'm not really getting anything from it. But, you know, we live in a world where you hear stories of people or you've seen people at locations or jobs or anything where they work and they're great. And they're great at what they do. And they go nowhere because they're not having a drink with the CEO. Or when there's boys night at a certain thing, they're not going there. Or when they have functions, they're not showing up. You're not required to go to a party.
A lot of people, they give their all to these jobs, and while they're not necessarily going to these things, there are other people going to these things, kissing up to these leaders, and they're like, okay, so they know this person by face, but if you're giving your all to a job, going above and beyond, doing everything, you're doing more than what you're getting paid to do. And they're like, well, I'm going to promote you because you're doing everything that you would do in this bigger position at the lower salary I'm giving you now.
So it's a fine line, right? But even taken away from just even work, 'cause we spend a lot of time on work, that can happen in friendships where you're always saying yes and, doing things because you feel like that's kind of the dynamic that you probably have in your relationships. You haven't even noticed it. But when you sit there and the one time you go, you know what, I can't. Then you kind of see people for who they really are, because then you start to see shifts. Not everybody, but you start to see shifts in behavior. And you're like, wait a second, what you mean? Or when someone, sometimes there's people who are well off and they always fit the bill and they'll swipe their card and people get used to it. Like, oh, I'm the one who pays for everything, or my spot is the house that everyone comes to. And then when you we're not gonna go to my house today. We're gonna go somewhere else. Next thing you know, you see a shift. And you go, wow, your relationship was really based on the fact that you were making them happy. And then it becomes a parasitic relationship where they're dependent on you pleasing them all the time, and it's not being reciprocated. And then you see people for who they really are. And a lot of people don't want to disappoint people, so they'd rather just sit there and just keep doing that than facing the reality that maybe that person ain't for you. Maybe that job isn't for you. I get it. It's tough out there, but your mental health is more important, because all you're going to do is become stressed out, overworked, overwhelmed, unhappy, and then you might snap at work one day. And you're not going to remember all those good times that you was kissing a butt and being great. They're going to always remember that one time when you lost it, and they will never let you forget about it.
Or you snap at that birthday party. Or that baby shower.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
I've seen it happen, bridal shower, and the maid of honor snapped because the bride gave her too much to do. And it was like, get this, do that, do these invitations, get these florals, get this tuxedo, get this dress. Oh no, this isn't the right one. Get these doves. No, I want doves, not swans. No, I want rice. That's why it's always important to place those boundaries right at the start of any relationship, work, personal, friendship, anything, because it sets a tone. It sets a tone for someone to say, hey, I have my limitations. Hey, I have my boundaries. Of course, do it in a respectful way. It's like one of those, for example, it's like, hey, Emperor, I'm thirsty. Can you give me something to drink really quickly?
Sure.
Okay. Can you grab that Saratoga right off the table for me, please?
No.
Okay. See, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know Emperor is not my lap dog. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's like one of those things, And to continue on with friendships, it's like, again, it starts when you're young. It starts when you're in a classroom setting, 3rd, maybe 4th grade, and you're seeing other kids your age who happen to be more popular than you, who happen to have that shtick that makes people want to gravitate towards them. So then if you don't quite have that light yet, or maybe it comes in a little later in life, wherever, then it becomes this thing where it's like, okay, now how do I get people to like me? Versus do people like me for me, right? And again, if there's no one there teaching you that, or teaching you like, all you gotta do is be yourself, or teach you how to set boundaries, then it can fester, become a thing. So then it becomes, oh, well, let me see what I can do. Let me see if I could be the smartest kid in the class and do everyone's homework, or I could, be the class clown. Or it starts with that.
Right.
No, and then it grows and becomes this thing, and then, and then you can even form friendships. That could happen because, oh, this is a really good friend who is reliable, who is validating, who does what I want, So it's, they have perks to this friendship. They always, like you said earlier, they always fit the bill for everything. It's a very good, convenient friendship.
For who?
Exactly.
Right.
I'd say both parties.
Like, I
It's good for
understand.
the one that, who is doing the people pleasing. Oh, I'm friends with someone who's of this stature,
Mm.
this financial status, this person who knows everybody. So now I look good standing next to them. But it's also good for that person too, because again, we don't know what kind of insecurities they're having. But let's say that there's someone who seeks people pleasers, who seek yes men around them. Then again, they're in a position where like there's a lot of pressure that they have to deal with being top dog, or maybe they don't deserve to be in that position. So now it goes both ways, but it can be very toxic. It can end up being toxic in the very end, because let's say there's a conflict somewhere and that person is looking for you to validate them. You know what I'm saying? For example, if this person happens to have a run-in with somebody and clearly this person is in the wrong, right? They ended up saying something real messed up to somebody. They went off, cussed them out, did everything what they did to this particular person. And they're coming to my people pleaser friend saying, can you believe what that person did? Meanwhile, what they did was minuscule
Right.
in comparison to what your friend did in retaliation, right? Or in that moment. But then you don't want to hurt their feelings. You don't want to piss them off. You don't want them to look at you sideways. So you're going to say, as a people pleaser, yeah, what they said was messed up. What they did was so messed up. I can't believe they did that. You know what I'm saying? What happened? All they did was say something very, very minuscule, like, oh, I don't like the way that necklace looks on you. And then they want to turn around and come for their hair and come for their shoes. And see, that's why you can't afford anything anyway. What you know about Dior? I know everything about Dior. This is a $3,000 shirt. What you think you got it at?
Good for you.
Working at
$3,000 shirt.
working at Popeyes, and like they'll go like going in on this person, right? But then they're looking at you, the people pleaser friend, to say, hey, wasn't that what they did messed up? And as a people pleaser friend, yeah, that was messed up. They shouldn't have said anything about your Dior shirt. Your Dior shirt is fabulous. It's everything. F them.
And my thing is, if they would have said something, like if they're like, no, actually, like I think maybe you were in the wrong. A lot of times they get scared that their friendship is going to be affected.
Exactly.
And my thing is like, now you're not really being your authentic self. You're only doing stuff for that person, and that can cause all type of anxiety, stress. Like I don't have time for that. Like you're really putting on a character every day,
Absolutely,
to ensure that someone is living their authentic life. Now you look at it like, if you're a people pleaser and a person's taking it, then that person is a user, because they're using you for what you can give them. And as a friend, some people are based over circumstances. I call it out. I had some friends, and I'm not gonna say their names, and they're really, really cool, where they always will, they say yes, so Emperor, but what you want to do? I'm like, wait, it's not always about me. Like, let's think about this collectively. And I'm going, this is deeper than Emperor, right? Like maybe when they're around their other friends, this is how they interact. But I don't want that. It has to always be my way, because I'm more like a collaborator, and I'm like, I don't want that to happen. And they probably don't even know they're even doing it.
Well, remember, insecurity is the underlying foundation. You have a very confident disposition about yourself. So if that person doesn't... Okay.
It's fake. No,
no.
It took a while for me to get to where I'm at right now. So
hey, listen, and for certain types of people pleasers, for certain types of people in general, that kind of confident disposition about yourself, that kind of assurance that you have for yourself, can either be intimidating, or it can be like one of those things where it's like, ooh, now I feel small next to this person. You're not even doing that, right? You're just Emperor.
You're just existing.
Right? You're just existing.
I feel like being a people pleaser is a full-time job.
Well, speaking of,
it sure is.
How can you tell when people pleasing becomes toxic for your well-being?
When you start being, what I'm recommending a therapist to you, that's how you know it's toxic. Or when you start to lose yourself. Or when you start looking back on memories of everything you did and you feel like you had really nothing to do with it. Because one thing we do in this age, we record and take pictures of everything, right? And you're like, oh, this was fun. We went to, the Bahamas. Oh, I really wanted to go to Mexico, but it's okay. We went to this restaurant. Oh, okay. We wore this. We did this. When it becomes a full-time job, I feel like you doing that all the time, you start losing out on yourself, and you start losing out on other things that you really enjoy. Your attitude is going to start to shift, or you become a robot. Remember, we was watching, what's that That show when that girl, she was they had you like on a scale of like 1 to like 5, and you had to be happy all the time or your score started to
Black
drop.
Mirror.
Yeah, Black Mirror. You should watch it. It's a really good show. And it was pretty much on people pleasing, which I'm thinking about it right now, where you had to, hey, how you doing? And if someone liked what you did, they'll drop your rating. So you had to always have a smile up, and you saw people practice it. Huh?
You give everybody a 0.
You everybody a 0?
Yeah.
See? But everybody goes to give you 5, so you don't give them a 0. That's the whole point.
I want to be a 5.
But you'll be a 5?
Yeah.
You want something? You have something you want to share?
Like what?
That's kind of toxic.
No.
LOL.
But those are ways where I feel like, you just know, like, or when you have like friends who call it out, like, I feel like someone who really cares about you is going to sit there and say, I think you're doing too much, especially like when you're in like social settings and you can kind of see like, why are you breaking your neck to, like, what's going on here? They might not like that you pull them to the side, but like, I would. Like, I'm like, this ain't slavery.
Ooh, time and place, Emperor. Time and place. I've been pulled to the side before when everyone was like, why are you getting everybody's drinks? Why are you preparing? Why are you like, relax? And it's like, huh? Like, as a people pleaser, you're confused by that, especially in the moment, because you're just trying to help, right? It's like, well, oh my gosh, Emperor, let me fix your coat. Let me fix your hair. Let me make sure you look really good. Because again, Emperor's confident disposition is making me feel like this. But I also want to make sure I feel not as small. So how can I do that in the physical world in this moment right now?
I do believe people pleasing start in the home. And I don't think it starts with your parent not teaching you anything. I think it starts with your parent actually being a people pleaser and you're copying what you see in the real world. So I've seen, again, we can go back to how we are as Black people, right? Oh, you can't have your hair a certain type of way. You have to look this way. You have to speak this way. You can't have locks, dreads, braids, twists, curls, any of that stuff. You're doing all of this to please who? Not yourself, to please them. And you see those who like us who made it, they had to conform and change who they was just to fit the bill so they can, have a good living of life. So you're like, well, this worked for my mom. We live in a real good neighborhood. Those who didn't do it, they're struggling. So clearly this is the way to move up. We already told you have to work 10 times harder to still not be seen.
Yeah.
So I'm going to work 10 times harder and then be a people pleaser on top of it. They go, oh yeah, that person over there, he's good. He's down. He's also smart. He can do my job. But since he's kind of kissing my butt, I'm not intimidated by him because he's playing his role as like being behind me. But if you're sitting there standing confident and strong, that bothers people. And it does stop you from moving up.
Yes, you're seeing what they're doing to get ahead. You're seeing them people pleasing. You see them kind of like not really, making too much of a big deal of things. They're not, they just want everything to keep the peace, the queen of denial, the king of denial. Nothing's going on. Everything is all right here. Picket fence, happy family, cute little white poodle, right? But then maybe on the other end of the coin, you have the parent who's never satisfied, and nothing that you ever do is ever good enough. And once you do get that moment of validation from this particular parent, oh, you finally won. So now you got to like keep going. You kind of got to keep pushing that way. And then how you navigate from that is it like the earlier point you made before, when one day you're 56 and you're still, people pleasing. I think to get onto that particular question that you said, like, when do you realize that what you're doing is toxic? For the person who eventually does start to recognize, there are two things that happens. I know, well, maybe there's more things. Actually, there's several things that happens, but I know the two major ones I can say for myself is there comes a breaking point, a particular breaking point, or a particular like a rock bottom point where you're just like, where am I right now in life? Why do I keep ending up here? Right? I'm doing everything right. I'm, hitting my, like with work, I'm hitting my goals. I'm, kissing the right butts. I'm, being as collaborative and helpful and as present as possible, but I still keep ending here at the level of mediocrity. Same thing with same thing with personal relationships. You know, I validating everyone's feelings. I'm being there for them. I'm making myself useful. I'm even giving money away. I'm even like giving as much helpful advice as possible. You know, I'm showing up for everybody, you know, supporting everybody. And yet I still keep ending up here, the level of mediocrity, because it's not being reciprocated. You know, I'm not getting the same in return. But you start to realize that what you're doing is toxic when there are certain breaking points. I know for myself, when it came to my friendships earlier back in the day, would be where if you're in a position where two friends are having a conflict with each other and you're stuck in the middle, you're having to people please in that aspect where it's like, oh, no. What that person said was wrong. You're right. And then you're going back to this person. No. What that person said was wrong. You were right.
Absolutely not.
So you're flip flopping and going back and forth, trying to keep the peace. But then it becomes messy because then you never know what may happen with those two people.
Right.
They may never speak to each other again. And then now I guess you've kind of succeeded, or they, 9 times out of 10, they come back together and say, well, remember what Purnell said? Well, oh my God, what did he say? Wait, what? That's not what right?
Just mind your business.
So with that, even with that particular situation back in the day, or even like with any situation where you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, what's happening is that you're robbing the person of honesty and of boundaries and of recognition of how it is that you want to convey to them that what they're doing is not so great.
We talked about you trying to live up to what your parent is, you trying to live up to get your parents' attention, but there's also the parent not being there.
Yep.
And so you go back and you go to your friends or whoever else you meet and you start people pleasing to kind of buy their love. And that cycle just continues and continues. And you're at work trying to people please to buy these people's love so someone can recognize you because you never got that at home.
Right.
And that can be detrimental. But how do you like fight those people pleasing tendencies and get in a area where you're putting yourself first?
Self-reflecting. I feel like every day I self-reflect every single day. And I go through the whole entire day. I'd spend like maybe 30 minutes to myself and just go, okay, so what did you do today? How was your interactions? How did you feel? And then sometimes you're like, something you might cringe at. I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe I did a little too much. So when I see that person again, I know to tone it down a bit. Or because sometimes you get excited, you want to do all these things. I'm like, no, like let stuff just kind of happen organically sometimes. Everything doesn't have to be erased. You don't have to have this person smiling like a Cheshire cat ear to ear, right? Like just let things happen. But self-reflecting is one, and just being very aware of what it is. Again, I told you before, like I would hike up my voice and become a little more animated. And I go, well, you're doing it again. Just catch yourself. Put your hands down, take a deep breath and start over. Like, it's okay. Like, it's not a race. You can sit there and do that. So, and also talking to my therapist, she always asks, how was your week? And I could talk. So she'll let me sit there and chit-chat for the first 30 minutes. But then she'll sit there and she'll give advice based on what it was and goes, well, Emperor, you're doing this, or I see improvement here, or I see you going back to the old way. And she'll ask me like, wow, what do you think? Like, what happened to where you feel like you had to go back, right? So just really identifying what's going on and writing out a solution for yourself. This is what I want to do. Whether it's, again, meditating, prayer, whatever it is that works for you, just hold yourself accountable. Like, accountability is big.
It starts with doing the work on you. It starts with doing the work on really getting down to the nitty gritty. Why am I a people pleaser? Why am I afraid to speak up? Why am I afraid to place boundaries for myself, let alone on others? And there are certain timelines on like how far people get to that point. But let's say for the average people pleaser recoverer, is that a word? No, it's not.
We're gonna make it happen.
We're gonna make it happen. Okay, make it happen. Okay, or it's Mariah Carey.
Rehab, right?
To a certain person who is recovered from people pleasing, I think that's better. It's you then have to start practicing and doing the work. Especially if you get to a point, especially when you get to that point where, okay, I know who I am. I've come to figure out who I am. And you have to start like putting yourself first. It's not selfishness, but Let's call it what it is.
It's selfish, but positive selfish.
It's positive selfish, exactly. It's about your own limitations, your own boundaries that you want to place. And healthy wise, right? So that way you can be able to get through life and be able to navigate through things in your personal life, your career, your, in your everyday life. So that way you're not constantly filled with anxiety
and being burnt down and being sad and being stressed and being depressed
and regretting certain decisions that you made and, and on the way. And so as you're practicing and as you're going and as you're telling certain people no, you're checking certain people for getting in your face, you're holding certain people accountable for stepping out of line.
So how do you stop yourself from feeling guilty when you necessarily don't people please and then there are like adverse reactions?
Good question. I sleep great at night. At first, I'm not gonna lie to you. At first, I started like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna think of me? And then I started thinking, I was like, there's no reciprocity here. Now, we were going back and forth, help each other out as a thing. But I'm like, but wait, our relationship is based on me never saying, always saying yes. And now that I said no, good song by Beyonce, by the way, her first album, yes, it's a good song, same thing. Yeah, it's a problem. And now you start feeling away. I'm like, wait a second. So I just set a boundary to protect my peace, and this person feels a way about it. Do I want that person in my life?
It depends.
Now they're gonna change and go, you know what? Maybe I was taking a little advantage of you. Things happen, right? We're human. But if they start acting completely different, I promise you I lose no sleep at night. I go home and I sleep knowing that I'm protecting my peace. That brings anxiety and wrinkles and emperor doesn't, as you can see. I just do not know. I'm not doing that. So I sleep great at night.
See, it's back what I said before, confident disposition. It takes a long time to get to that point when you're recovering from being a people pleaser. How do you stop yourself from feeling guilty? It's about putting yourself first. You know who you are at this point in your road to recovering from people pleasing. You know who you are at this point. You know what you're willing to tolerate, what you're not willing to tolerate. You know what you can be honest about. You know what you can be a little bit, maybe not so honest about.
Right.
But for real and valuable relationships, it's about, again, setting your boundaries, setting your limitations, and being honest. So as long as I'm being honest and being realistic about whatever it is that I am in any moment, then I have nothing to feel guilty about.
Absolutely not.
I'm not hurting your feelings. I'm not coming for your life.
Nope.
I'm not shading you. I'm telling you what it is. I'm telling you exactly what it is, what the facts are, and that's it.
You know what that sound means?
Of course I do. It sounds angelic.
Well, it's time for Enlightenment with E.
That's right. I'm about to enlighten you guys. I'm really excited. And what we're talking about today kind of coincides with what, the enlightenment thing is. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, enlighten us.
So y'all know me. I like to enlighten everybody. So my enlightenment thing today is saying no, because that's what's really, really important. I think as a whole, we have a hard time saying no, especially our people, and it is absolutely okay. As we said earlier in the podcast, setting boundaries is very, very important for your mental health and just your overall well-being. I'm not going to break my neck and hurt myself to do things, because guess what? When you do all that, they're going to come to the hospital, come see you. They're going to replace you with somebody else. It makes absolutely no sense, and absolutely not. Saying no is crucial to your overall health and greatness. Guess what? Can you stay out till 4 o'clock in the morning? No, I cannot. I can stay out till 1. Can you work late? No, I cannot work late today. Why not? Did you ask Sarah if she could work late? Like, what are you asking me for?
I got cycle at 5:15.
Right, you have cycling. I have a boxing class, and I have music and art to create. I cannot do that. But I will definitely help you in the future if you need be. You're setting the boundaries early. Saying no gives you your time back. If you ask anyone who is successful, they've said no a lot of times, or if they are successful, they say yes so many times, and guess what? They lost themselves. And you don't ever want that to happen to you. So saying no is not terrible. Saying no is saying yes to yourself. And again, you have to pick and choose what's right to do. Again, there's times you are going to stay late. You are going to go the extra mile for someone, but the extra mile should not turn into a marathon. You have to put yourself first. So saying no is a positive thing. And just practice it and do it is great for your mental health. I'm not going to go into it because I talk about this a lot, but just say no and you will grow. And that's Enlightenment with E.
I like what you said. Saying no is saying yes to yourself.
Yes,
It's true. Like, come on now. Because absolutely not. Y'all know me.
It stings at first.
It's all right. Put a Band-Aid over it.
Well, all right. Well, we have a viewer question before we
Yes.
close out. So this one is from Anonymous.
They don't never give their names. What's going on with this? You know, so they can,
don't
you know
know
what?
nobody.
They don't have to. I don't want to. I don't blow up your spot. Go ahead.
And they're based in Philly. So I've been feeling conflicted about one of my friendships for a while now. I put a lot of effort into being a supportive and present friend, but I'm not getting the same energy back. It feels like I'm always the one reaching out, planning things, and offering emotional support while they don't seem to reciprocate the value of our friendship in the same way. I'm torn between wanting to hold on to the relationship and feeling drained by the imbalance. How do I know if it's time to end the friendship, and how should I approach it?
Have a conversation with your friend. How long did they say this friends for? They say how long? Listen, friendship is a friendship. Have the conversation. If you feel like you're doing everything, there's a problem.
Yes.
It seems like they probably have a little case of people pleasing too, because I guess they're not saying no.
Exactly.
Have the conversation. If that's your friend will understand. And just be kind of calm with it. Listen, I know that a lot of times when we're doing things, I'm fitting the bill, I'm doing this, I'm bending over backwards, and I never see it on my end. And put it back on them. Is it something, maybe I'm making this stuff up? And just kind of be gentle with it. The person might feel a way about it, but you need to have that, because what we're not going to do is have a one-sided friendship.
This person also sounds like he's very apprehensive about even approaching or even bringing this up to the friend.
Sound like they need couples therapy.
Couples therapy?
Yeah.
Like for friendships?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm here for that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's insurance will pay for it.
I'm pretty sure. Well, maybe they're, if they're doing everything.
Maybe.
Now, see, I say start with self-reflection first. Look at yourself and who you are first. Once you get to that point, then see who you are in yourself in this friendship. Who are you in this friendship? Once you come to those crossroads, and then you kind of okay, now I know who I am. Now I know what I reflect in this friendship. Then you can start making little tidbits and making little steps to kind of start sending out boundaries, or start or even distance yourself back. You know what I'm saying? Or start doing things for yourself. Start planning your own things. Start doing things, that you want to do, or
find people who's going to reciprocate that.
Because a friend is going to reciprocate that.
It does look like for me, for example, I have a rule. If I don't mind paying for stuff, I don't care. But once I do it twice and I don't see nothing else after that, I'm good. I won't ever invite you out ever again.
I also think it depends on we said, how long you known the person. Have they been just the whole friendship, or has it been something that's just been happening more recently? Because they could be going through something that they're not talking about.
That's true.
So really having that conversation about it.
Because it doesn't sound toxic.
Yeah.
But guess what?
But it does sound like an issue.
I have one for our lovely viewers. When you send some stuff in, be a little more specific so I can help you. Because I don't know. It could be anything. If they said we've been friends for 10 years.
10 years.
And, it started happening last 2, something going on. Mm-hmm. If we've been friends for 3 years and that's been our friendship, then then I can sit there and jump in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's all.
I would say, reflect on yourself first. Reflect on yourself, who you are in this friendship, and then start taking the steps to really see where it is that you want out of this friendship, or what kind of expectations and boundaries you want out of this friendship. Mm-hmm. Then have the conversation, because some people are not ready for that.
Yeah,
they'll gaslight the hell out of you. What do you mean? I thought you were okay with A, B, and C, 1, 2, 3.
Why you never?
I thought you were okay with coming to my house and taking care of my dog every day, even when I'm here and not here. You take care of my dog better than I do.
Then I should have the dog down.
That's my dog. I'm taking that.
So I say definitely do that if the friendship is worth saving.
Copy.
But again, with growth, the Klingons start to fall. Mm-hmm. So as you're changing, as you're growing, if there seems to be some kind of distance or some kind of pre-ghosting in this friendship, be mentally prepared for that, because 10 years is a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Quick.
That was a quick 200 hours. Yeah, it flew
by. Wow. Okay.
Visit @AnxiousWild to learn more about the show and to view all our episodes. Sign up for our monthly digest, The Selfish Edit. Follow @AnxiousWild on all social media platforms. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, email us at hey@anxiouswild.com or make a submission to our question and suggestion box. Thanks.
Have a good one. Stay safe, y'all. Woo,
Have a good night. Hey. Have a good night.